Hey everybody, so in future videos I am going to show you how to set up and use all sorts of different types of free software. But before we get there, what I really wanted to do is share some resources with you so that you can find your own, right? So that you don't need me, you don't need my recommendations, you'll know what to look for, what to find all by yourself. So today we'll be really focusing in on how you find applications, right? So the things that are going to help you consume, to learn, to manage information, to create and communicate on your device. They're really the things that we are looking at. I'm not going to go deep into operating systems, big utilities. We'll have plenty of time for that in future videos. But this one is really about how to find the things that you need so that you can stop relying on centralized, closed source, proprietary services. So with that, let's get started. So the first thing that I wanted to run through before we even talk about where to find software is licenses. So there are two really incredible places that you can find all sorts of information about the type of licenses that you want to look for your software. And licenses are really important because they articulate what you're allowed to do with the software, whether you can change it, whether you can use it for free, whether you can give it to your friends, whether you can do whatever it is that you want to do with it. The license will really form a major part of that for free and open source software. So the two things that I'd recommend that you check out or have a look through, and there's going to be some crossover in each because they come from similar backgrounds, albeit with different philosophies. This first one is all of the licenses on GNU. And I'll share all of these links in the description, but this really gives a good description of free software licenses. So every single one, if it's on here, if it has that license, you'll know it's been set up, at least legally, in a good way. So you'll see the Apache license a lot. You will see a lot of the GNU licenses a lot as you go through these. The other one that I'd absolutely recommend having a look at is the OSI approved licenses. So the Open Source Initiative, basically the planet's biggest body for open source, also has a lot of licenses that they would consider good, popular. You can see they've got some different specifications in here as well, right? So really good resource. The reason this is important, what you don't want to do is use something that you think you can do whatever you want with, and then find out later that actually you can't. That might put you in a little bit of a spot of bother. So get to know these licenses, and however you can, when you're considering using a piece of free or open source technology, just make sure you have this in there as well. One of the other things that I wanted to call out was the Open Source Initiative's FAQs. I think if you're really interested in getting into open source software, they've really built out, just an incredible amount of information in here. So rather than having to sit and listen and watch and follow my boring voice, go here and find all the information that you'll need. Okay, so where to find free software, where to find open source software, where can we get all of this from? So I'm going to go through, first of all, a number of resources that I use. They're my first ports of call. They are the bigger, longer established organizations that typically put quite a lot of rigor into things before just listing on a directory. And we'll talk about the directories as well. So we'll do those first. So the first one is from the Free Software Foundation. That was my doorbell. These are the guys that started off way back in the 80s. And you can see that they have a full directory of all sorts of free software. Loads of different ways to trawl through this. I tend to like this section of just free software to use for businesses. So if I was interested in email platforms, I could click on email here. It'll think about it and think. Let me try and refresh this. This is my connection, and then you see we just get a huge number of results that you can go through. So massive amount of stuff in here. The other one that I really like is the Software Freedom Conservancy. They do a good job of really protecting their membership projects. These are typically longer established projects but they really are helped out by the Software Freedom Conservancy. So I'd absolutely recommend just checking out this list as well. For more in-depth sort of heavy lift tools, a lot of you who are listening to this may well know this one already, but the Linux Foundation is just a fantastic organization. And they have all sorts of tools and organizations that focus on some of the really heavy lifting and technical lifting that you're going to be doing with computing. Honorable shout out. I only came across this one the other week, so but I really, really like the way that they brought this together. And this is the wiki page for OS Arch. So again, really, really interested in promoting free Libre and open source software. A lot of these tools, even on the first ones, are things that I use myself. So this is a really interesting way of getting your maps, documentation, visualizing stuff with media, technical docs. You can see they've got a whole bunch of game engines in here if you're somebody that likes to create games, all the way through to VR. So really a huge number of tools that you can use in here. And then I think the other two probably well-known ones, I always check out the Fediverse. This is a good sort of social media. The one that you may have heard of is Mastodon. That got some quite a lot of traction, but they have PeerTube for hosting your videos, all sorts of stuff here. And then, so SourceForge has been around for a long, long time, and they do all sorts of things, but one of the things that they do is actually host a lot of the free and open source software that's there. What I really like about their open source software library, now bear in mind, open source, so it doesn't necessarily mean free, either in terms of Libre, as in freedom, or free as in money, but at least open source. They have a huge number of different ways that you can search down here. But what's really cool is that you can also search for the license. So if I only wanted to see stuff, for example, that was... Ooh, let's go for public domain. Why not? That's a fun one. Which is in the mature phase, then I have a whole bunch of these that will come up that I can look through as well, right? So it's got quite a good ability to search. Loads and loads of fantastic articles on here as well. Like I said, SourceForge has been around for a very long time. So they are the main sort of major resources that I will typically use. However, they aren't always completely up to date. They don't have a lot of the smaller tools. Maybe you need a point solution. Maybe you need something super, super consumer-like. Maybe you're just thinking, you know what? I just want the open source version of X. And that's a lot of the time where community projects, people that have really built a lot of links kind of come together. So I wanted to share a few of those as well. We, of course, have our good old friend Wikipedia. Whenever you're going through this, again, as always, check the licensing. Make sure that you know what you're looking for. But again, as Wikipedia does brilliantly, it really does a great job of categorizing so many things, right? The likelihood is that if it exists, you're going to find it on this page. If you know about it and it's not on this page, maybe consider editing and improving it and adding to it yourself. So this is a really good one. There are a couple of resources on GitHub as well, which I really like. So awesome self-hosted. These are actually specifically tools that you can host on your own computer yourself, right? You can run them, but you can also host them and get into them from outside of your computer. So this is a really, really interesting thing. If you're looking to set up your own cloud server, or if you're looking to set up your own email, right? You've got so much. This is a really, really huge list. And in fact, this list was just the contents. Again, if there's something that you need to host yourself, you will almost definitely find it on here. And then very similarly, huge free and open source alternatives to common SaaS projects. So this is really, really helpful. It's continually being updated. There's a big list of different tools. And again, what I love about this is you've just got things like knowledge bases. So if you're thinking I need to use Notion, you've got an alternative to that. So another phenomenal list. And side note on GitHub, one of the things that's quite cool that you can do is, I do this sometimes, just search. So I might search for FLOSS, or I sometimes just search for FOSS to see what else is out there. Libre is another one, right? Because that's more about the freedom. So a lot of people will put the name Libre into their program name, and that indicates that it is something that's going to be completely free, and is very often open source as well. So that's another good keyword for any of your searches is Libre. So they're the community resources, really. Like a lot of the time you're going to be looking on GitHub, Wikipedia. And then we get on to the directories. So over the last, I would say 2 or 3 years, people have figured out that it's quite easy and quick to make money from compiling directories of things that people find useful. So I'm not going to vouch for any of these. I use them occasionally. I don't know the motivation behind the founders of any of these. I don't know if they're just a money grab or if they're legitimately good. But they are things that I will use occasionally when I can't find what I'm looking through through other sources. So we have close to 1,000 applications on the open source software directory. Tons, and I quite like this for alternatives, right? You could say, what's the alternative to Photoshop? Oh, PhotoHop. Oh, that's annoying, isn't it? Shop. There we go. So 2 of the ones that will typically come up, GIMP and Krita. So that's quite nice. Very, very similar. Alternate OSS. Best open source alternatives. Right, lots and lots of different ones in here. I kind of like this, that you have categories, but you also have alternatives. So if I wanted an alternative for 1Password, there's actually a what's it called? Tab button, whatever. You get it. So that's pretty good. And again, more open source alternatives to popular software. Now, again, any of these, anything that we've gone through, again, I go back to make sure that you're looking at the license. Make sure you're not just picking up a freemium product that you think is going to be good and then it's going to charge you a lot later. That's not really what we're going for. We're looking for free. We're looking for open source. And so I guess the last thing that I found this morning while I was putting this video together that may or may not be helpful for you, you can, of course, use LLMs to find open source software and free software. They will hallucinate. They will give you the wrong information sometimes. Don't always trust what they say about the software. But there are a few of these that are pretty good and will at least give you some direction in what you're looking for. So one of them that I found that I'll link to is Open Source Advisor. I chucked in a very, very generic, super basic task for it. And actually the answers that it came up with were pretty good. So give that a go. So yeah, lots and lots of different resources here from licensing to the big guys to community-driven projects and directories and through to the latest LLMs. The important thing is just get used to all of these, right? Like I've got my favorites, you'll find yours. Throughout all of these videos, I'm not going to claim that one thing is the panacea to everything, right? Like the joy for me of free and open source is you can change it, you can collaborate on it, you can make it yours, you can express what you want, right? It's a lot more open to your customization and your needs than perhaps a lot of other closed source stuff is. And I'm also not going to poo-poo closed source stuff, right? I think some of the greatest innovations of the last 20 to 30 years have come from things that are closed source. It definitely has its place. But I think now, particularly for the things that we figured out, right? Once we figured them out, great, let's give them to the world, let's make them free. So hopefully these will help and you can find what you need. All right, that is it from me today. So cheerio, hope you enjoyed. And if there are any missing or any that you want to see, please do let me know. Write in a comment, add your thoughts, promote your stuff. I don't really care. It'll all go in. All right, bye.